Cody, great to see you, man. Welcome to Popternative.
Hey man, thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to chat with you. It's very interesting because we're talking about, Final Fantasy VII and, nominated for lead performer at a Golden Joystick. Congratulations, man. The life of kind of an actor and storyteller, you want to dive into all these different worlds, right? Whether it's TV, film, and then there's the opportunity of going and voicing someone in a video game, right? When do you start kind of thinking about that? Like, is it early on, like about voicing in video games? That's something that maybe happened more recently. Like, when do you start thinking about that, kind of diving into more worlds, not just TV and film?
Well, to be honest with you, I'd done very limited voiceover work in my span of being invested into Hollywood so far in my career, up until the very first Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I think like as a child, I did some like voiceover work, like commercial spots and something for like a cartoon channel on Saturday mornings, but nothing serious at all. But speaking personally, this is outside of my profession. I've always been an avid gamer.
Yeah.
I've played like first person shooters most of my life. Like Halo was a very dominant like video game in my life. I played that like competitive level for sure for many years. So I always had the dream and the aspiration of like, damn, that would be super cool. Like I'm very connected to this world of, like video games, for example. It's an escape. It truly is. And it's an immersive one. So I always thought about like, oh, that'd be so sick. That'd be so cool. But it's funny. I never once really connected the reality of like, oh, well, I'm in this industry as a storyteller for different formats. I guess it could exist in a position for me to go and exist there. So it kind of just came about organically. I'm not gonna lie, man. And when it did happen and when I actually was able to go in and do it, and it wasn't really until after the first game was released and I kind of got to catch my breath a little bit where I was really affirmed in so many ways of like, damn, okay. Like the heart and the essence of what I'm doing on film and TV sets, in theory, is pretty much the same of what we're doing here.
You just answered the next question, like in regards to, because it's all storytelling at the end of the day, right? Except you're in a booth, playing a character that's going to be played by many people. But is the mindset preparation change a little bit compared to like past things or like TV and film to like voice acting, or do you kind of like see it all as storytelling specifically?
That's a good question. I would say the actual art of storytelling, the act of conveying these emotions that's packed into these dialogue trees and the script, if you will, that we have to follow. That's pretty much, I would say my approach would be standard. It's pretty much the same as I treated really like this character in this game as if I was stepping into it on a film set.
Yeah.
There is something interesting that required a little bit of adaptation, and that was just the more technical side. And to the point that you just made, right? It is storytelling, but like you're alone in a booth by yourself with no one else.
You might be able to wear a sweatsuit or something.
Yeah, it's like it's really such a different experience because like you're isolated in the best way, and in a way where you get to kind of dive internally in moments that you might be embarrassed or like something that would make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, like actually on a set in front of a camera in front of 20, 30 person crew. Kind of have this safe, intimate space. There were so many times I'm recording and I'm like hoodied up, headphones on, eyes closed, like really transporting myself there.
Yeah.
The biggest difference though was learning and applying aspects.
Yeah.
On film and TV sets, like the camera 4 or 5 feet away, like I really have a lot of freedom to communicate all the underlying like layers of what's happening in whatever moment.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're lacking the visual aid and everything is just being heard, well, now like there's these technical things that you have to think about. There's pronunciation techniques that you have to think about. Yep. There's learning how to create certain sounds within to generate a response that normally if you saw it with your eyes, you don't need a audio cue of what it sounds like to me standing up from this chair.
100%.
It's of like capturing those little nuances and understanding like where to root them, where to like have it come from within, just to create that extra little layer of reality that is necessary for the immersive experience in these games. That was like an adjustment for sure.
Dude, your answers to these questions are perfect fastballs down the middle for me to hit a dinger to ask you the next one, because they kind of have to do for some reason. It's like you knew what I was going to ask, but like, I do find it really fascinating because, so much happens before you go to camera on a project or before you record, the voiceover work for a project, right? Like you said, you kind of said it all in your answer, right? You're discussing, you're figuring out how they're going to sound, and you're talking to things, and you're trying to envision what it's going to look like a little bit, but not more than that, because you want to be in the zone. So from an acting storyteller perspective, you could see it as two journeys, right? Before recording a project or filming a project, or after recording or filming a project, or do you see it as one big journey with multiple steps in between? I'm curious about that.
I actually kind of break it similar to how you broke it down. I break it down into like there's always a prep phase for me.
Yeah.
And that is where I get to be the artist. I get to be creative. I have a mentor that I credit so much to everything in my career, in my life. He really taught me like how to take this art form and this craft and not only share it with the world, but allow it to be a cathartic experience for myself and heal me within. And he always used to give this analogy of the prep phase when you're preparing, right? We used to refer to it as emotional daydreaming.
Yep.
That's a visual aid of like, hey, you got a blank canvas, right? Yes, of course you have a script. Yes, of course you have directive into who is this guy? What's going on? Like there's a story behind it. There's a story within. However, there's a lot of life that is yet to be explored. And that's where the creative side gets to come. I have a literal blank canvas in front of me that I get to immerse myself in through all of these different experiences that I have in my life, the things that inspire me, whether it be art, nature, music, whatever the hell it is.
Yep.
I'm allowed to just live in this world and mentally and emotionally kind of like set up the landscape for this character to exist in. So to me, that's step one, which is like the prep. And that's happening way before I'm ever on set.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The longer I have, like, the better. That's the fun journey for me, really. And then the second part of it all is like, okay, once we're there, it's being able to lead without fear, knowing that you've done the work, knowing that you're trusting yourself enough to let go and say, like, I've done this, I've thought this, I've felt this, I've built this. I'm here to now just exist in it. And that's step two for me, is like you do the work to then not do the work and just exist truthfully and authentically. And that's where I think you end up connecting with folks emotionally, and that's where it matters the most.
It's so funny you mentioned that because, the life of an actor in a lot of ways, there's a lot of misconceptions, I feel like, with the life of like a storyteller and an actor, right, Cody? Like a lot of people just think, I think, one, there's this assumption that actors know what's going on all the time, which could be farthest thing from the truth, right? Let's be honest. But I feel like an interesting one is like, the job is auditioning and preparing, like you said. Once you get on kind of the show or like the project, I would say it's like some people have said it as like it feels like a vacation. It doesn't feel like that, but it's like, it's very community based and like, you're having a good time kind of bringing the art to life. You know what I mean? Like I find that really interesting.
At the end of the day, right? Like this should be an environment where collaboration, creativity, just humanity in general is allowed to come together and connect and express themselves, right? That's the essence of what we're doing. And I always believe like it should be fun. You should take the work serious, not yourself. So yeah, that's kind of just like my little prep phase, my little process behind it all. But I love it, man. This shit really, in so many ways, like to the point you made, it feels like vacation. It doesn't feel like work.
No.
When people, what do you do for fun? It's like, well, I want to be working. Like I want to be on a set. I want to be. Give me a sick ass story that
dude. It's the same thing. Like I'm a filmmaker as well, right? And like I'm realizing recently that like I love it, but I love what you said too. Like it's such a team sport, man. Like making a film, especially indie films, dude. Like it's such a great thing to see. Like everyone like everyone putting all the work in that they put in, and like knowing that like every little piece of the puzzle, you would not be able to make a film if it wasn't for the team. And it's like I want to like emphasize that all the time because it's a beautiful thing to make films, but like you have it's a team, man. Like you can't do it alone at all.
The collaboration is so necessary, and to add an extra layer onto that is like keeping it in mind to create an environment always where people feel seen, they feel heard, they feel respected, they feel safe to be vulnerable and express themselves in their means of expression, whether that's lighting or grip or set deck or whoever it is. It's like everyone is there in this little creative bubble, this little
Yep.
creative world, to express themselves in the way that they feel most connected to.
Yes, but also trusting
Um,
them too. The trust is so important. Like at the end of the day, I've been on films where I'm a producer, I'm a writer, executive producer, different films, right? Different roles. And like I have an amazing team, right? And I have my actors and I have my directors and I have, you know, our hair and makeup and our set deck. I don't do that. I'm not a I don't work in hair and makeup. I'm not an actor. You know what I mean? We can have those conversations, and if I have certain things, we could talk about it. But like, I'm not, I don't do that.
yeah,
You do that. You know what I mean? And that's really important to me to allow for that kind of environment, that fun environment, that, safe environment, and then environment to just go rocking and do your thing. If that makes sense.
yeah, no, of course, and everything that you're saying, I mean, I just finished up a project. It's a movie called Sync,
Sync.
and
Yep.
it's
Perfect
true.
segue. Dude, we're hitting up the segues perfectly right now.
It's really true and through. Like it's an independent film at
Yep.
heart. But I thought the story was incredible. I thought the role was incredible. I thought there was a lot of beautiful moments that I was very eager and excited to like bring to life. I
Yep.
remember the first read through of the script. I was alone, solo, in bed. It's like midnight. I'm reading the script, and there were a couple moments that like just brought me to full tears on my first read, and I felt so connected to the material. But the experience was in coming off of 6 years of All American Warner Brothers studio back. Like it's just different
Yeah.
to get into an environment where like this guerrilla style crew is showing up and tackling what seems to be the impossible. Everyone's tired,
Yep.
everyone is exhausted, but everyone is there and they're being driven by a sense of passion. And
Yep.
that to me was just like it was the experience I most definitely needed. So it was really, really cool.
I also wanted to kind of get back to Final Fantasy quickly before we wrap up because it kind of has to do what you just said as well, where a lot of the hard work goes in, and then you kind of work on something and it's out of your hands and it's disseminated to this like global fan base, right? And I'm wondering because you have been part of those big global fan bases with Pretty Little Liars, Teen Wolf, All American. And I'm wondering if you were able to prepare yourself with those kind of fandoms for Final Fantasy. Like, did that come into play a little bit at all? Like, knowing that you were kind of used to it a little bit? Because it's like that global thing could be very terrifying at times and
It's
very
different.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you are immersed into what I refer to as like a cult following,
Yeah.
people that are just incredibly passionate about like what it is that they care for. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it can be a lot. I will say this. The internet was a different place in like 2015-ish, 2016-ish when I was on Teen Wolf.
Mhm.
And Teen Wolf was really at its height of popularity. You're talking like post season 3, season 4. Like I'm coming in season 5, right? And I'm showing up and I'm playing this antagonist. I'm playing this villain that disrupts the pact and betrays and lies and manipulates. And so it wasn't a great guy. Moral of the story is the Twitter girls, the Tumblr girls of that time and that era, and the fan base in a whole as from Teen Wolf, it exposed me to a whole another layer of dealing with people that just love what they love so much. I feel so in the best way desensitized and to answer your question fully, yes, very much prepared of like, okay, you threw me in the ocean with the sharks and I made it back to shore. So like
Yeah.
I have enough confidence within to be like, okay, whatever it may be, I feel comfortable enough to endure.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited that we were able to chat about Final Fantasy VII. You were nominated for Best Lead Performance at a Golden Joystick. Congratulations. Cody, so great chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Hey, likewise, brother. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Your Instagram account, all that thing, Cody Christian everywhere, basically, right?
Yeah, just one.
Awesome. And we'll look forward to seeing Sync when we get to see Sync too, because I can't wait to see that movie. That looks awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And you have a great rest of your
You
day.
too. Well, this has been Pop Turret at youtube.com/PopTurret previous episodes. Until next time, it's Cody Christian and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.